This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
And good morning, everyone. How are you today? It's 10:07 right now, and you're ready to hear the Senior Talk right here, brought to you by Harbor Place. And they're located at 3700 Southeast Jennings Road. We're joined today by Diane McDonough. She's a Harbor Place Director of Sales, and her guest today is Farrah Taylor. She is a registered dietitian and nutritionist from the Nutrition Clinic. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning, Paul, and to all our listeners. Harbor Place wishes everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Yes, we are in the midst of the holidays with our holiday traditions. A New Year's resolution is a tradition in which a person makes a promise to do an act of self-improvement. One of those improvements could be our nutrition and our diets. Today, our special guest is Farrah Taylor, registered dietitian, nutritionist with the Nutrition Clinic. Good morning, Farrah.
Good morning, Diane.
Good morning, Farrah.
Please share with us more about you and what is a dietitian nutritionist.
Okay, well, my name is Farrah. I'm a dietitian from the Nutrition Clinic located right in Port St. Lucie. I'm actually originally from Massachusetts and went to Simmons College. That's where I did my studies. And a registered dietitian would be maybe somebody you would see at the hospital. If you've just been diagnosed with diabetes or just had surgery, a dietitian would come and see you. What I do is I am in private practice. So let's say you leave the hospital with a diagnosis of diabetes. You will need to sit down with somebody to help you plan your meals, educate you on the new diet and lifestyle that you would need to follow to keep blood sugars and diabetes under control. So a dietitian would help with a lot of different conditions like heart disease, diabetes, of course, gut disorders, GI disorders, constipation, things like that.
What is your philosophy at the Nutrition Clinic?
Well, at the Nutrition Clinic, we focus mostly on lifestyle. Because as we transition, as we age, our body changes, our lifestyle changes. So we need to eat for our conditions, our life, our lifestyle, how we live. We don't focus on calories. It's about quality. It's the quality of the food that you put in to get what we're all trying to get, which is energy. We want to get nutrition and live off of good foods that's going to sustain us.
This is going to be an interesting show, Farrah. Let's get started. I recently gave up coffee. It's been about 10 days now. I felt addicted to my coffee. I had a wicked headache, fatigue for several days. If coffee is supposed to have good benefits, why would I get headaches and fatigue when giving it up?
Well, coffee is one of those things. It has some good and bad qualities. The good is it does definitely help improve memory in the elderly. If you're doing one cup of coffee per day. Now, I have to say, how many cups of coffee were you doing? And what did you put in the coffee? Are we doing a latte? Because there's coffee and then there's, coffee with a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of junk. So caffeine is very addictive, and too much of it can be detrimental.
How much is too much?
More than 2 cups a day?
Really?
Yes. Studies show that 1 cup of coffee a day is actually beneficial, helps reduce certain cancers, helps with memory. But there are certain people who should stay away from it or maybe minimize it a bit, especially if you've got gut issues, sensitivity. If you have high blood pressure, the caffeine can raise the blood pressure. So there are some good and bad.
How about if you have decaf? Is it the same as, in other words, is decaf any better than caffeinated coffee?
Well, you're definitely removing the caffeine from the decaf, so it's better. Again, 1 cup a day, 1 or 2 cups a day shouldn't be that bad. But what else are you putting in it? The sugar, the syrup, the cream, sometimes the artificial stuff too,
now,
in your creamers.
Is tea on the same level as coffee?
Yes. Yes. Tea is an antioxidant, and coffee is an antioxidant as well if you don't overdo it. Again, moderation is key. But tea, like green tea, is wonderful. A great antioxidant, also helps with memory. and helps the body in a lot of antioxidant ways.
Benefits of chocolate. We all love chocolate, especially during the holidays.
Chocolate is one of my favorites too. Again, in moderation, right? We all know it helps the mood, it helps elevate the mood, it helps with cardiovascular as well by and it depends on the type of chocolate as well. We want to go with dark chocolate, something with at least 70% cocoa, but it does have cardiovascular benefits, helps reduce blood pressure, helps reduce triglycerides, and we're talking about 1 ounce of dark chocolate of 70% or more cocoa.
Is that a Hershey bar?
No.
You need just 1 ounce is that question.
My favorite is, I believe Ghirardelli makes a really good one. It's like 72%, and they have some higher ones. Now, the percent cocoa helps you figure out, okay, if you're diabetic especially, you want something with a higher cocoa because it's going to be less in sugar. Okay, so the higher the cocoa, the less sugar, the more bitter it is, the more dark it is. And that's really what's protective and what's beneficial.
Great. Tell us about the Nutrition Clinic in reference to the website, location, telephone number. I was looking at your website. It's very interesting. Share that with us.
Okay, sure. Our website is thenutritionclinic.net. We're located at 6839 South US Highway 1. That's across the street from the new Social Security office between Prima Vista and Midway Road. We're in the same plaza, Lexington Plaza, as the Flame radio station and the new 2U store. We've been there about a year now. So.
Great. And in the website, it talks about the different services that you give. Can you explain those to us?
Sure. We do one-on-one customized nutrition counseling. So we'll see somebody for whatever condition, and we will create a meal plan for them, educate them on the disease process so that they're better able to manage their condition with nutrition, with diet. We also do food allergy sensitivity testing because a lot of the times there are food that are triggers for perhaps migraines, sinus infection, yeast infection, and we try to help our patients figure out which foods are the triggers. So we do food sensitivity testing as well. We also do supermarket tours. We do them once a month at Publix, and we will take our patients on a tour of the supermarket, teach them what to look for, how to read labels, looking at carbs, things like that, to help them better navigate the food stores.
On your website, you have some diet tips. Very interesting, but can you share those with us?
Let's see, what I have here. I have, if you cannot pronounce the ingredients, pass it up, right? How many times have we pick up something and we look at the ingredients and we can't really say exactly what it is? Well, it's one tip to, if you cannot pronounce it, maybe it's not that healthy to eat. It's probably a chemical, something processed that we probably don't want to put into our body. Let's see. A moderate diet is a healthy diet, and I agree with that. We don't have to cut out everything, but as long as we eat in moderation. Now, of course, there are certain things we want to eat more of. Our vegetables, fruit, foods that are high in omega-3s and fiber, things like that. Let's see. Apple pie is not a fruit. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
Yes. So, we definitely want to maximize nutrition from real food and get our nutrition from the source. So think of it as, a baked potato is always going to be better than the potato chips, which is highly processed, full of saturated fat and trans fat. So an apple is going to be a lot better than an apple pie, especially if it's not homemade, because it's probably going to be full of sugar, high fructose corn syrup, and a whole bunch of other things.
This time of the year, obviously, families are eating different things they typically don't eat year-round. Now, a few of us do eat fruitcake, not many of us, but I think Cliff does once in a while. So this time, should we be especially, should our radar be up for the kinds of foods and drinks we typically share this time of the year that we think are good for us?
What are we talking about here? Eggnog?
Eggnog, yes, I love eggnog. Ooh,
Yeah.
1 minute maybe, yeah.
Yeah, again, it's all about moderation. It's about lifestyle, and we do change over time. And as with the seasons, there are certain things we're going to be drawn to. Making a healthy decision is so important. There are lots of varieties now, a lot of decisions to be made at the grocery store because you don't have to get, especially if you have high cholesterol. You don't have to go with the eggnog. You can go with a lighter eggnog, something that's lower in fat. But there are some other options out there. So we don't have to give up all of our favorite foods. We can definitely manage the portions. Moderation, of course, is key.
Okay, we have a phone call here. The phone call is from Bill, and we'll say hi to Bill right now. Hi, Bill.
Hello.
What's your question, Bill?
My question was, what vitamin does 74-year-old man supposed to take? There's 999 million of them on the shelf.
Okay, Bill, we'll try and answer. Thank you for the phone call. Go ahead.
Well, I would say a regular basic multivitamin is probably all you need. You want just regular multivitamin. Most of your vitamins are going to be better served from food sources, from your fruits, your vegetables, your whole grains, your fatty acids, omega-3 fatty acids like from salmon and fish. So a really healthy diet is where you're going to get most of your nutrition that will be easily assimilated. But it definitely serves to take a regular multi like a Centrum or something of the like.
Bill, this is Diane. I would say that if you visited Farah at the nutrition clinic, it really depends. She's going to ask you a series of questions. It depends on your health. There's so many other questions, am I correct, Farah, that you would need to know to really answer that question. I know what she answered was with multivitamin.
Just a basic multi, yeah.
But if you share with her and sit down and go through what is happening to you as currently now with your current situation, I'm sure she can be more detailed.
I agree, Diane. You're right. We do have, especially, that population of seniors, they tend to be, because they're maybe not eating as much or maybe skipping meals, they may not be getting everything they need through regular diet. So a multivitamin will definitely help with that. But sitting down one-on-one, we can assess, what your weaknesses are and try to ameliorate with good nutrition.
I wanted to pass along something to seniors, I guess anybody who's listening. A while back, I had a blood test, and the doc came back and said, you got vitamin B12 deficiency because your body is no longer making B12. Well, I didn't know this, but my mother lost her taste because of this deficiency. So if you have a blood test, make sure they check for that, because I found out, and I get a shot twice a month for vitamin B12, and I'm fine now. My body stopped making it. Now, of course, you don't know this until you have a blood test.
Correct, and B12 is so important for energy, and there are certain medications that will decrease your ability to produce enough B12, like metformin. If you're diabetic and you're taking metformin, it has the propensity to decrease your availability of B12. So B12 is certainly important, as well as vitamin D, which your doctors can test for as well.
Obesity rates are soaring in the United States. About 60 million adults are now obese. Why do you think the rate of obesity is increasing each year?
I really think it's lifestyle, because we're busy. We're busier more than ever before, and we need quick, we need fast, and a lot of times, we just depend on somebody else to cook. And so we've fallen into the trap of just fast-paced lifestyle, where we're not eating a traditional diet anymore. Everything is just quick, fast food, TV dinners, a
That's
lot
true.
of
They're
that.
full of salt.
Full of salt,
And I know that a lot of
preservatives.
seniors prefer getting a frozen meal because it's easier. It's only them they're cooking for, possibly.
Right.
They might have some physical problems where they can't make a meal. So it's not good, is it?
Yes, I had a diabetic patient. I went to visit him, and he was doing all the TV dinners, starting with breakfast. Okay, so he had a whole bunch of issues: diabetes, cholesterol, kidney, and we had to completely remake his diet, give him a diet makeover. He's doing a lot better now. His sugars are a lot better. But a lot of people don't understand how much actually goes into something that's like a TV dinner. I mean, all the preservatives. Yeah, it's got a lot of salt, but have you looked at the ingredients lately? A lot of them. Sometimes, you'll find monosodium glutamate. That's MSG. That's a magnet for a whole bunch of conditions, including Alzheimer's.
Sure.
So
So
definitely
what
be
are
careful.
the results of obesity?
Well, obesity can lead to a whole bunch of different things: high blood pressure, heart disease, fatigue, loss of quality of life, unable to move. I had a patient. She was very heavy, and her heaviness, her obesity caused a whole bunch, and she's young, she's 35, and it just caused a whole bunch of problems for her with high blood pressure and heart conditions. So we definitely want to manage our weight better. That's definitely a resolution we can do for the new year. But a BMI of over 30 is considered obese. So if you don't know your BMI, definitely look it up. Of course, you can always come to see me. We can do a complete dietary assessment, but you want your BMI to be within normal or maybe slightly above. So a BMI between 18.5 and 24.9 is considered normal. Anything over that is overweight, and then over 30, a BMI over 30 is obese.
Yeah, before the show, Farah and I did the BMI, which is body mass index, and mine was 22.5.
22.5.
Which means
Beautiful.
Oh, thank
Perfect.
God. But you asked me questions like my weight and my height.
Yes.
So that's interesting. So if you really want to see that results on that and how it can work with your diet and changes and meal plans, please see Farah. That's going to be really interesting.
Thank
Yes,
you. Yes.
The body mass index, obviously, it's something that the company I work for had it. And literally, they would judge not your performance, but I think sometimes actual pay was involved. If you kept the body mass at a certain point, which meant you were healthy, there was some benefits to that. Of course, some were pay. If your body mass index was really off the table, then they want you to see people like yourself and be able to get it down to where it was controllable. But it's something that, these are new terms to a lot of people. The people who are older had never heard of body mass index. If you felt good, it must be okay. But times change, things change. You go for your annual physical, for example, your doctor, does he mention this to you? These are the kind of things that if he doesn't mention it, you should ask him. Can you check my body mass index? What am I? Otherwise, how would you do this?
Yes. Typically, visiting a doctor, they will automatically calculate body mass index. It's based on your height and your weight. And usually with an BMI over 30, that's when you'll be at higher risk for different things: high cholesterol, high triglycerides, hypertension. So they usually, a lot of our doctors in this area will make a referral to a dietitian, and Medicare will actually cover for you to see a dietitian at no cost to you if you have diabetes or kidney disease. So that's something you should note.
Let me ask you, Farah, why did you go into this field?
Honestly, I went to school to become a cartographer. What is that, right?
A map?
Yes,
a builder
yes.
of maps, okay.
Absolutely. And my father had gotten sick, and he had heart disease. He had CHF, congestive heart failure. And I was on my way to Europe to study, and I was so distraught. I started doing research. I started reading. And what I was finding is that a lot of my dad's issues had to do with diet. So I said, you know what? I really want to come and do this. So when I came back, I went to Simmons College and I got my degree in nutrition and health promotion to help my father. And I learned so much and I realized how much I loved it. And while in Europe, the lifestyle was so different. People walked everywhere, people ate smaller portions. Even the fast food was healthier, I should say. So that's how I got into it, and I just had a desire to help people with their nutrition because I believe nutrition is at the heart of health, and we can't take it out. You know, it's not about pills. It's about really fixing the body's imbalances, and we can do a lot of it through good nutrition.
Great. Tell us your contact information again.
Okay, our phone number is 772-878-8227. We're located at 6839 South US Highway 1. That's in the Lexington Plaza, across from the new Social Security office. And our website is www.thenutritionclinic.net.
On the second half of the show, we're going to talk more about the medical nutrition therapy that you have on your website. And if you can briefly tell us about that now.
Okay, so medical nutrition therapy is just a term that we use to deal and focus with conditions. So nutrition for a specific condition, let's say heart disease or diabetes. So it's more, it's more focused and tailored towards a person's condition, whatever they're going through, versus just a healthy eating lifestyle. So we go into particulars in terms of how much carbs, how much fat, and how much sodium, depending on the person's condition, chronic condition, diabetes, heart disease. So we tailor the diet to meet those needs. And when we do that, you'll see a decrease in certain things like A1C numbers, triglycerides, cholesterol numbers, things like that.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Well, just in case, folks, you missed any part of what is going on this morning, you can always go to your YouTube, right, Cliff? YouTube, not iTube.
WPSL TV.
Yeah. First, you go to YouTube and you type in WPSL TV, and it'll pop up, and you can catch this program. All Monday programs, all Senior Talk programs, can be seen on YouTube, as you'll see this one if you'd like to. Cliff will have it uploaded. When, Cliff? A couple days now? By tonight, he said. So it's great to see, and all of our shows on WPSL are from 8 o'clock until 9 every day, Monday through Friday, are recorded by Mr. Cliff Desmond, who's really handy with that kind of stuff. And we're certainly enjoying this morning's program. I want to thank Farrah for coming in this morning. Diane always brings us great programming. It's always so nice to be up to speed on what's going on out there in the world. So thanks for bringing her in. We'll have a second half coming up after the Florida News Network gets on the air. Right now, we're at WPSL Port St. Lucie. Our temperature is about 79 degrees, warm degrees right now. And chance of rain today, just 20%, so it's going to be a dry one again today. My lawn is saying, please water me. So we'll be doing that fairly soon. Anyway, folks, please stay tuned now for the Florida News Network. And good morning once again, folks. We're back on Senior Talk this morning. Our guest, along with Diane Gunn, of course, is Farrah Taylor. She's a registered dietitian and nutritionalist. She has a place called Nutrition Clinic, and we'll hear more about that in a second. So good morning, ladies. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone returning to the show. Farrah, as we age, our health condition changes. Please share with us as I ask you questions about different health conditions, about how we can help lower the odds with our diets and nutrition. The first is cognitive impairment. Could be dementia, could be Alzheimer's. What would you suggest?
Well, definitely to decrease the odds of getting Alzheimer's, dementia, we want to eat a wholesome diet, a whole foods diet that is going to be less processed. The more processed your diet is, the higher the risk for inflammation, and that's inflammation of the brain. And there are certain foods that will cause more inflammation, like soda, too much coffee, sugar. Let's see what else. MSG, monosodium glutamate. You find a lot of that in TV dinners, processed foods. So minimizing those foods that are high inflammation would help, and there are certain foods that actually help decrease the risk. That would be things like, let's say, olive oil, almonds, your salmon, fatty fish, things like that.
When you say soda, is diet soda good for you?
No.
Tell us why, please.
Oh,
I want
it's
my
the
friends to hear
worst.
this.
Okay, so diet soda, the difference between that and regular soda is the type of sweetener. So you go from high fructose corn syrup, which is fuel for inflammation in the body throughout, okay? And then you go from that to aspartame or acetylsulfame potassium or sucralose. All three of those artificial sweeteners, they're very toxic. They're part of our top 10 toxic foods, okay? They're toxic because they actually promote brain inflammation. They promote inflammation throughout the body. And they do other things too. They're very addictive. You'll notice that when you have something with an artificial sweetener, you want more of it. You crave more sugar. It's trying to trick the brain into thinking you're getting sugar, but it's really not sugar. So it's one of the worst foods you could actually possibly put into
You
your
almost
body.
have to wonder why the government even allows it. I mean, seriously. I mean, if it's that bad for you, there
Why-
should be, for example, in cigarettes, they say it could cause cancer or does cause cancer. Why on the diet soda drinks doesn't it say what you just said?
Probably because there are a lot of lobbyists out there, right? Money.
Follow the money, right?
We have to be in charge of making the right decisions for our bodies. I believe the reason why they don't label it is probably because they're using a tiny amount, right? So a tiny amount when they do their studies, hey, it doesn't look like it causes cancer.
Doesn't kill a
However,
rat, no.
right? However, how much do you need? When you do a tiny plus a tiny plus a tiny, you get a whole lot, right? So if you're doing several diet sodas a day, it adds up being a lot. I actually had a patient who was doing a ton of soda. I have a lot of diabetics who do a lot of diet soda. And when we get off of the soda, period, the blood sugars just come down.
But they think it's good for them because it's diet soda. I mean, diet soda. I'm on a diet. There you go.
Well, like I said, the aspartame, the chemicals they're putting in there are worse. In fact, they're very addictive. So you have caffeine and aspartame, you're looking for brain damage right there.
Really?
Okay, it's really that bad for you. So one of the things we definitely want to avoid for
I will
sure.
have my wife watch this show particular because she likes Diet Mountain Dew.
And that one's loaded with caffeine.
Okay.
Loaded with caffeine.
She doesn't believe me,
So
perhaps she'll believe
not
you.
a good choice, especially if you have high blood pressure either. The one thing about diet sodas I will say is you will crave more soda. There was actually a study that was done, and it proved that people who drank diet soda gained more weight. Because they ended up craving more sweet things, more sugar. So I had a patient who, again, he was doing a lot of diet soda, but all he did everything he was supposed to. He cleaned up his diet, but he had one diet soda at dinner, right?
Just one.
Just one. And he always had to have dessert later. And I'm like, why do you think you're craving all that sugar later? Again, it was due to the diet soda. Once we cut it out, he didn't have those cravings anymore. So imagine starting your day with a diet pop, right? You're going to be craving sugar all day. You're going to have that sugar rush, sugar lows all day. And that's what happens. So you have to start your day right with a healthy breakfast. And diet soda is just not one of them.
Another health condition that we need to watch for as we age is incontinence. If you can help us lower those odds.
Incontinence, wow. So with incontinence, I always say really watch your caffeine. Okay, caffeine can be very irritating to the system. So definitely watch the caffeine, minimize your cup of coffee to 1 cup a day, and drink lots of water.
8 glasses a day, I understand, is a good number to shoot for.
It's a great number to shoot for. It's not too much, not too little.
How about arthritis?
Arthritis, that again is inflammation. And if you want to reduce inflammation, you have to start looking at what you're putting in. So stay away from the toxic foods. Those are going to be your TV dinners. Anything that has monosodium glutamate, that's MSG. Anything that has high fructose corn syrup, that's going to promote more inflammation. More inflammation you have, the more pain you're going to have. Anything with artificial sweeteners, and again, you're looking for aspartame, sucralose, acetylsulfame potassium. those are very acidic to the body, and they will promote more inflammation for you.
Doesn't MSG, does that bring out the flavor more in you open up the tongue?
Yes.
The sensors?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a flavor enhancer.
Sure.
It's very addictive. That's why you can't put down the Doritos, because you have one, you have to have the whole bag, right? What do you think's in it? MSG. Yes, so it definitely enhances the appetite.
And folks, that does not mean Madison Square Garden, by the way.
How about heart disease?
Heart disease. So for heart disease, we want to do two things. We want to increase the fiber intake in our diet and lower the saturated fat and trans fat from the diet. So you increase fiber by doing more vegetables, the non-starchy ones like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, things like that. And of course, saturated fat you're going to get from cheese and whole milk, and trans fat you get from fried foods. So no KFCs for you. So if you can do that, lower the saturated fat and trans fat, the fried foods from your diet, and increase the fiber, you have a really good chance of reducing cholesterol and your risk as well.
I'm going to go on with this list, but you said something earlier I wanted you to clarify or tell us more about it. You said the top 10 toxic foods. What are those?
Yes, that's one of the things we cover when we do a one-on-one consult is I want to teach my patients about the foods to look for, the ingredients to look for when shopping for food. And high fructose corn syrup is one. Artificial sweeteners is another one. Monosodium glutamate, and there are different names for MSG. Okay, so you might be like, hey, this doesn't have MSG, but it has yeast extract or autolyzed yeast. Well, those are different names, code words for MSG, and they do the same thing.
And what else is on that list?
Let's see, we have nitrates. Nitrates you're going to find in processed meats like hot dogs and bacon, and a lot of processed meats will have nitrates, and they've been linked to cancer, stomach cancers, and GI.
I like hot dogs.
I love bacon.
I love hot dogs.
So definitely you don't want to create a diet around processed meats, but they're
But
definitely
there again,
something.
it's moderation.
Moderation. But you'd be surprised. A lot of people, they just don't know. They might have it all the time. They might have bacon and hot dogs and sausage all the time. Then it puts a lot of stress on the body's system to detox and get rid of that.
Well, that's interesting. How about diabetes?
Diabetes, okay. So diabetes, we definitely want to be mindful of carbohydrates with diabetes, because too many carbs at one time, the body's unable to deal with all of it at one time. So we want to keep our portions small. Typically, I recommend limiting carbs to no more than a fistful. And we want to do the healthy carbs, the whole grains, the sweet potato, the quinoa, brown rice, what else is out there? Squash, things like that. Those are your healthy carbs. And then, of course, we want to balance that plate with fiber. Fiber from non-starchy vegetables like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, salads, and spinach, and things like that. And we always want to have protein with our meals to help balance the blood sugars. So good sources of protein, of course, would be chicken and turkey, lean meats, things like that. And it's especially important for diabetics to eat regularly during the day to prevent the low blood sugars. So we want to eat every 3 to 4 hours or so, and if we're not able to eat a meal, we definitely want a healthy snack in between.
See a lot of diabetics grabbing a Milky Way because they say my sugar's way too low.
Yeah, so one thing that will cause low blood sugar is not eating at all, skipping a meal, not having a decent breakfast, or having a high carb breakfast, right? Imagine getting up and having Frosted Flakes in the morning.
Yeah,
Well, you're going to get a
I've
low.
done
So you get a quick high, and then your sugars are going to drop. So again, a balanced meal is where it's at. You want to balance that plate with some fiber and some protein. So a better option would be maybe oatmeal. Throw some almonds in there. That would be a better option. Keep your blood sugars from dropping. A Milky Way, not so great, but there are some wonderful granola bars out there that are low in sugar and high in protein.
Gosh, no Milky Way bars, no Hershey bars, no
Coffee.
hot dogs, no coffee. All right. Let's see. We talked about vision and vision loss.
Yeah. So again,
Now,
when
and
we
I
talk-
know some of this is genetic, but again, how can we beat the odds? Lower
Well,
the odds.
Lower the odds by reducing inflammation. And inflammation from diet, like, high fructose corn syrup, artificial sweeteners, MSG, reduce your inflammation that you're getting through diet. Now, you can always, add more vitamin A to the diet by eating foods higher in vitamin A and carotene. You're going to get that from pumpkin and carrots. Most of your yellow peppers, anything that's got the yellow and orange pigment would be higher in vitamin A, and that should help. But inflammation is where it's at. So reduce inflammation by removing toxic foods from your diet.
We are definitely a society of barbecuing down here in the South. Barbecuing okay? Tell me it is, please.
Oh, I'd love to read the ingredients in your barbecue sauce. Typically very high in sugar. Again, not something I would recommend all the time. You'd be very surprised to see high fructose corn syrup in your barbecue sauce. Okay, so again, there are better quality options out there. Once in a while is not going to kill you right away.
But barbecuing itself, just the act of barbecuing food doesn't change it in your mind, does it?
Not necessarily. I mean, there are some studies that say there are healthier ways to barbecue, right? Because just barbecuing, if you have the fire on the meat and it's dripping and it's going to push it right back into the meat, there's a higher risk for cancer.
As the flavor, too, by the way.
So again, not something I would recommend all the time.
sure.
But your body is built to be able to detox and get rid of toxins if you support it with healthy nutrition. So more broccoli and cauliflower on that plate.
Another condition to watch for as we age, and I see so many hip injuries and falls, is osteoporosis.
Yes. So with osteoporosis, we definitely want to make sure that we're nurturing the bones. And for bone health, we want to get enough calcium in our diet along with vitamin D and vitamin K. So your vitamin K you're going to get from your vegetables, your green vegetables. Now, don't go piling on the vitamin K with green vegetables if you're on Coumadin, right? That's no, you don't want to do that. That's where I would definitely call up and schedule an appointment because we'd want to modify and customize your diet. But your green leafy vegetables are going to be high in vitamin K and have some calcium as well. And then vitamin D you can get from, just getting 15 to 20 minutes of sunlight or eating foods that are high in vitamin D. Calcium you're going to get from, milk, low-fat milk, yogurts, almond milk will have calcium as well.
I was reading somewhere that for young kids, my grandson comes to the house often, and we always buy 2% milk. But they're saying for kids, full 100% grade A milk with no. In other words, the main one is better for kids. Is that true?
To help them grow, yeah. It's got more calories in it, same amount of protein and more fat in it. They need more fat to buffer. But it really depends, right? Depends on the kid. If the kid's overweight,
runs a lot, and plays a lot of
okay,
games.
yeah. If they're normal weight, then you'd probably be okay. But there is such a thing as kids doing too much milk, and that's what we'd want to watch out for.
There's that word again, Diane, moderation. Moderation.
All right, I gave up coffee. I'm not going back. I had the 2 days of headaches and
But
fatigue.
it's better now, though,
yes,
right?
I am.
You're
I'm
drinking
better.
more water?
I'm better. No, moderation's not going to work at this point. But so I gave it up.
Well, you were standing in line for a long time, Dunkin'
And
Donuts,
very
waiting for your
expensive, too, yeah.
yes, waiting
So-
for your fix.
How about digestive issues like constipation?
Oh my goodness, digestive issues. I see a lot of people with digestive issues. They might come in for heart disease or diabetes, but they have digestive issues. So we have to deal with the gut. And that's something we definitely have to deal with first because, I mean, if you're not going, it's staying in there. to get it
sure.
out. But in terms of diet, fiber is super important for relieving constipation. There are some natural things too you can do, like prunes, right? Have you heard of prunes? Prune juice? That helps relieve constipation. That's your natural constipation reliever. But making sure to eat a diet that's high in fiber, as well as drinking lots of water. If you don't have enough fluid, you're not going to help that situation.
What are the top foods with fiber? Now, I have a fiber breakfast. I buy these little sticks. And
The Fiber One sticks?
oh, yeah.
Oh,
Fiber
my
One.
goodness.
I mean, I don't care for it much. I mix with other kinds of
Well,
cereals.
the nice thing is you don't need a lot of them.
Yeah, you don't
Okay,
need
just
half a
about
cup.
a half a cup
That's
will
right.
give you, I think, 25 grams of fiber.
Yeah. What other foods contain fiber that we would maybe don't realize?
Well, my other option for fiber is bran. Okay, so bran cereal or bran flakes.
Inside of the box, it says how many grams of fat of your, I guess, roughage or whatever, not roughage per se, but if fiber you're getting. I think, like you said, 25.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's a lot. And
high.
that could be too much for some people. Okay, that could make some people gassy. And if you're not able to break it down and digest it, it might be too much. There are other sources of soluble fiber, though, that's a little easier, and that would be from oats
What
and
about Metamucil?
oatmeal. Metamucil has, I think, a good mix of soluble and insoluble fiber, so that helps, but it only helps if you're drinking enough water.
Right.
Okay. My other option is consult fiber. I think that's even better than Metamucil. It's got more of the psyllium in it, and the psyllium, that's something you can get at a health food store, but that's the fiber that binds also with cholesterol. So if you have high cholesterol, and constipation, consult fiber or psyllium is a great way to kind of, help yourself in that situation. Chia seeds are high in fiber. Okay, lots of desserts.
You said
chia seeds. Yes.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah.
Chia pet.
They're
I've seen those before.
they're little
Gross out, but-
seeds, and they blow up. They blow up
Okay.
when you put them in something like a liquid.
And where do you find
Chia
that?
seeds, you can get them at a health food store.
Okay.
Health
They're
food store.
very
All right.
and ground flax is high in fiber, so that's something you can add to maybe oatmeal or I'd say yogurt, things like that. Or different ways to add fiber. You can also add to salads. Okay, your beans are loaded with fiber.
Yeah.
Okay, like chickpeas, red beans, black beans. So, and again, you don't have to sit there and eat a whole bowl of beans. You can just add a few to your salads or whatever else that you're having.
Gluten-free diets. How new is this? Why do we need a gluten-free diet? What is it?
Well, we don't all need a gluten-free diet, but there are certain of us, some of us that do, or some of us that choose to eat a gluten-free diet because we don't want the inflammation that's associated with gluten. Gluten has a tendency to damage the gut lining. So if you have digestive issues, gluten is not your friend. Some of my patients that come to me for constipation, for example, we'll put them on a gluten-free diet and a dairy-free diet, and their life is a lot better. Some of our patients who come in with diarrhea and IBS issues, they're hard, they're soft. We put them on a gluten-free, dairy-free diet, and they do a lot better.
Really?
Yes, because gluten has a tendency to be inflammatory to the gut lining. So some people do benefit from a gluten-free diet. In addition, they might also notice less pain with their arthritis. And that's common. A lot of my patients, they'll come in for one thing, but they also notice, hey, they have more energy, they have less inflammation, less pain. I've had a patient who she cut her pain medication because she realized she didn't need as much, and all we did was a gluten-free, dairy-free diet and no additives. Okay.
So does that make
It
your
works.
stomach bloated?
Actually, removing gluten will reduce
The bloating.
the bloating. Yeah.
An uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah. A lot of people who do get bloating after eating, let's say, a high starch, like a pasta or bread, after having bread or pasta, you might get bloated. Once we remove gluten, you might notice you do better.
A real funny side. When I was in Italy, one of my dealers there had the gluten problem. He had gluten-free spaghetti. He even carried along gluten-free bread to eat. I said, my goodness, I'd never We never heard of this before. And all
Me
of a
neither.
sudden, it's a problem.
And the cost of the products are even
yes,
more
yes, very
Gotcha.
expensive.
than the ones
but
with the
they're-
toxic
But they're
products.
getting better. But just because it's gluten-free doesn't mean it's healthy. You still have to look at the ingredients, making sure they don't, pull a fast one, right? You want to make sure you're eating wholesome diet. But a lot of people have gluten sensitivity now, and they may not know it, and they may not relate it to their problem. Maybe they're because it's all related to inflammation. So if you're putting in foods that are promoting inflammation, yeah, you might have some gut discomfort, but you might have more arthritis pain, and maybe that's the link. Or you might have more migraines, and maybe that's the link. So at the Nutrition Clinic, we do a full assessment. We look at a person's diet. We look at the triggers. We look at things that we can do, and we customize the diet to meet the person's lifestyle. So they do feel empowered, and they know what they're doing, and they're comfortable with what they're eating, and that's what we do. We help people get better.
This has been a very interesting show.
Before we get off today, we want to for sure ask Farah to give us her address again and what she can do for everybody out there listening today.
Oh, okay. Well, again, we're located at 6839 South US Highway 1 in the Lexington Plaza across from the Social Security office. Our number is 772-878-8227, and we're at www.thenutritionclinic.net. And what I do is I help people get better. I help them feel better through nutrition. The power of nutrition is so important.
Will insurance assist a person coming to see you?
Some will. It depends on your policy, if you've met your deductible
Sure.
and all of that. But Medicare will pay for nutrition counseling if you have diabetes or kidney disease. So that's something that's paid for 100%. It's a benefit to you.
Well, I always say, Farah, part of living is giving. And you told me a story before the show, and I want our listeners to know as well. Part of your giving is, in your life is with hospice, through what you do at the Nutrition Clinic. Can you let listeners know?
Well, I see hospice patients, and what I do is I help them to be comfortable nutrition-wise. I help the family manage their nutrition to give them what they need as they're at the end of life. So that's something I enjoy doing, and I find a lot of gratification doing. So our hospice patients, they're struggling, but we want to bring some kind of give them what they want to eat, but in a way that's going to keep them comfortable.
Well, let's end the show as we go towards the end. Is give us some boosting energy foods that we can.
Ooh.
For the holidays coming up
Yes,
now, these next
we
2
need
weeks are
energy
New Year's
boosting
Eve,
food.
Christmas Eve, all I think we don't normally get into.
Well, again, moderation, right? So you don't have to eat the whole pie. But, think of, first of all, start your day with a healthy, high-protein breakfast. That's going to give you energy throughout the day. And stay off of the sodas. That's going to drain your energy. And that's not just soda, but juice. So fruit juice, apple juice, and other juices. And how about those energy drinks? Do they really give you energy? Have you looked at the ingredients lately? They're horrible. So for high blood pressure, definitely not a good idea. And also loaded with artificial sweeteners. So stay away from those types of drinks. And of course, a good breakfast. And try to balance your meals with vegetables, some protein, a whole grain. And if you're going to have dessert, manage the portion. Keep it to a serving. And remember, there's always seconds. So you can always go back for more, but you don't have to eat it all at that one time.
Very good. Thank you, Farah, for coming this morning. It's really a great show. I want to thank you again, and Diane, for availing us to this great information this morning. I'm sure a lot of folks leave a lot smarter this morning. This is WPSL TV, radio, 1590, Port St. Lucie, Florida. Welcome now to the news.
CBS News. I'm Steve Kaif, and throughout the day, electors